Hey ratbags, it's Jade today taking you through 200 infused daggers to see every kind of attribute that might be available. By now you should know that infused weapons pretty much have a chance of having a random brand new effect on them. Certain bosses will only drop certain types of weapons. So today we're taking a look at all the drops that you get from fighting the Broodmother, and I'm going to be spawning in basically 200 of the Black Widow daggers to see what effects we get. I'll whittle them down and give you my top 20. Definitely some seem to be really ultra rare. I'm going to do a bit more work on some of the other weapons that you get from bosses. I want to see if it's only this pool of attributes that you get across all weapons, or if you do got more of a chance of getting certain attributes on certain boss weapons. Now, how can you do this legit? Well, you can go ahead and fight the Broodmother 200 times and hopefully one will drop. Bearing in mind, if you're new to the game, this only happens in New Game Plus. And in fact, New Game Plus 4, so you have to be at that level of the game if you want some of these brand new random weapons to drop. Or once you get hold of your first one, you could potentially go and dupe it if you've got absolute hundreds and hundreds of thousands of raw science. But yeah, hopefully this video is useful, giving you an idea what you can get. Is it worth persisting, trying to keep killing the same boss over and over again to get that perfect roll? Do you find it useful, leave a like, and like I said, I will be looking at more of the other weapons from the other bosses to see if there's any different stats. There are some definitely interesting things. Let's go. So at first I only spawned in 100. I wanted to see what kind of weight we would have with certain attributes and stuff, and definitely there are some attributes that have turned up a lot more than others. I'm going to see if I can dig into the game files and come up with some actual percentages. And a bit later I end up spawning in another 100 just to see if there's any that I missed, and that's when I came across some of the most rarest ones. I've split it into 3 boxes. We've got damage, pretty much what they do. Then we've got lifesteal and healing, and then we've got passive buffs. By far, with the daggers at least, spicy damage came up top, with 11 different daggers all to do with spicy attack or giving more spicy damage. One spicy attack, which is pretty obvious. Fairly new one, implant weakness. Attacks cause the creature to be weak to the specified element for a short duration. So even creatures that are not normally weak to spicy will then become weak to it. So of course, if you then went ahead and made sure you upgraded that down the spicy path, you are going to be onto a beast of a weapon. So 18 hits there. Now let's try this one instead. Only 12 hits. That's how much of a difference it makes having something like that maxed out. And that's pretty much it. By and large, you've got more spicy attacks, spicy damage up major. They do sound all pretty similar, but if it says major, then it's going to be more damage than just regular extra spicy attack. Spicy attack will add a flat amount of spice damage to all your melee attacks, so it's kind of weak sauce in a way. Spicy damage up major is only going to do extra spicy damage if you have got spice on that weapon. So again, that's something else that you would need to upgrade down the spice path. So what about the other elements? Fresh was next with how many there were. Had things like fresh damage up best. So that will increase the amount of fresh damage you've got. Obviously, again, just like the spicy, as long as that weapon's already got fresh on it. Fresh weakness, implant, just like the spicy one. So you could, in theory, use this, even if it hasn't been upgraded to fresh, to then make that creature weak against fresh, and then bust out your other weapon that has got fresh on it quickly and do some damage. And just variations of fresh damage up, like major, minor, and the fresh attack. I think it goes without saying the implant weakness is probably the best one, as long as you combine it and upgrade that dagger with fresh. Sour, I got 3 of exactly the same damage up minor, and I only got 1 salt up best. Now remember, it is all random chance. When I went and spawned in another 100 daggers, I did get a few more up best sour and salt daggers. You can get Cutman on one of these daggers as well, giving you more critical damage to cause enemies to bleed. Reflect damage best, meaning that if you take a hit, you're going to do more damage against enemies. And attack stamina up. When you attack enemies with attack stamina, your attacking is going to use less stamina. With the right kind of build, Cutman and Reflect damage best are probably going to be 2 of the better ones here. I would still say Reflect damage best is going to be better, but all depending on what you're fighting. A lot of the daggers had extra damage against specific creatures, including bosses, Mantis, Broodmother and Wasp, which is kind of what you would expect given they're the 3 that you can get New Game Plus in, but they only dropped once out of the 100 each. Likewise, Black Widow damage only once, 2 Black Ant damage and 1 Red Ant damage. Obviously these 2 are going to be pretty useless. There's no real need to go farming ants unless you're really trying to get maybe infused. I suppose this could potentially be a lot better to use if you've got it, but otherwise it's all about the boss ones for sure, and of course that Black Widow. But when I spawned in the next 100, I think I got something even better. Boss damage, so all bosses. But obviously a really rare one, only one of them dropped in 200 daggers. There were a ton of critical based ones too, generally just increasing your critical hit chance. The damage you do with critical hit up major, but only one of them was best, with 3 of them being major, 4 of them being critical hit chance, and only 1 being critical days. Now critical days I think is pretty good, because it can cause enemies to attack much slower for a short duration. So imagine using that against the infected Broodmother, and you've got a chance of slowing it down a little bit. And I think critical damage up is really good as well, just for increasing it. But if you can get hold of the best, then that's obviously going to be the better one. Now there were a ton of final damage type effects, from giving goo to fury. So let's cover some of these. The final fury is going to be that the 3rd hit combo attack increases your attack speed for a short duration. That with a dagger is going to make that seriously OP. Final damage, you get more damage out of that 3rd hit. While that is going to be good for sure, I still think I prefer the ability to pretty much get faster hits in. Bleed could be good, because normally by the time you've done a 3-hit combo or 2, you're going to be running out of stamina. So taking a breather to come back a second, heal, let the stamina build up, but all the while still applying damage. I think that's a really good one. And final goo, I kind of like this one. It's what you get on the Firebug trinket if you can get that to drop. And yeah, it will just make creatures move slowly. I don't think it makes their attack slower though, it just makes them move slower. So moving on to statuses when you attack or block, there's a lot of vampirism and lifesteal. Vampirism only heals you when you kill things. Lifesteal will heal you when you attack. So to me, it's going to be better having the lifesteal, especially against tankier enemies. We've then got another bunch of final attack kind of buffs, stamina surge and block surge. The final hit in your 3-hit combo refunds a chunk of stamina, and for the block, the final hit in your 3-hit combo clears some of your block bar. So if you're not a big fan of armors like roly-poly armor, this could be good, giving you that extra block ability on your favourite lighter or medium armors. Get a few blocks in, and then just sit there holding your shield if you're not great at perfect parrying. But I still think it's a little bit just not sexy like some of the others. And stamina surge is good. Like I said, by the time you've done a couple of combo hits, your stamina bar is probably going to die. So having that bit of extra to get a few more hits in could be the difference between killing that creature there and then, or having to think about blocking or moving around as it gets one more hit in while you recover your stamina. Then we've got parry heal and perfect block. I love this, I think it's a great one. And when you get it as the suit bonus for the koi stuff, I think it can really help you learn how to parry. And again, especially if you're taking on much tougher, quicker creatures like the infected Broodmother, it might be something worth thinking about. And perfect blocking healing you is a game changer, especially when you won't have any negative effects. It's just a question of whether or not it's full enough. But again, combine that with other items that might heal you more. That could potentially be really good. The buff you get from Clover Armor is now on weapons. These are going to be pretty weak sauce. You receive less damage from early game creatures, and you can guess what the other one is. You're going to do more damage against early game creatures. Even on New Game Plus, by the time you get into 2 or 3 or 4, I think your weapons are going to be good enough that you'll be able to still take on ants and stuff like that without too much trouble. I could see a case maybe for the defense though, but honestly, by the time you set up your teleportals, you'll be out of them starter areas and taking on much tougher creatures. So they're both kind of useless to me, and that's why they're going in the bin. Defense event attack. Obviously, if you've got this, leave it by your base, and as soon as that happens, you're going to get a raid. Obviously, whip it out. It does work for all the mixers, so again, potentially it's good for just having for that one purpose. And they also work for the Java-matic defense as well. And then moving on to the last set, which is pretty much a lot more passive buffs and bonuses. There are a ton for your summons. I got 3 summon attack speed, so your summons will do more quicker attacks. Summon aggro, your creature's going to take more aggro from creatures so you can get in more hits. Your creature will do poison damage, couple them. Summon crit, do more critical damage. Summon fawns, if your creature gets hit, then it will also do damage back to the enemy, and just regular summon damage. Out of these, if you were looking at doing a summon build, then critical bleed I think is going to be a good one, and potentially with fawns. Otherwise, I still think that the summon builds are kind of a bit weak at the moment. I'm just not that invested in them, so I'm only going to keep summon crit bleed and fawns for sure. After that, we got some real useless ones. These can go straight in the bin. Arrow refund. Obviously, it's not going to work on a dagger. Hoarding strength. Yeah, okay. Like, sure, I suppose if you've got this, it will be able to carry maybe 5 more. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. So it is unusual for a weapon to have that ability. So yeah, if you're doing some heavy building, you could potentially have it. But let's face it, but it's gonna... And I guess if you're travelling across different parts of the yard, it's still good to have a powerful weapon, but it's also got a utility use just in case you do get attacked. But I'm probably going to call it. It's pretty useless. There's so many other ways to carry resources now, and with the teleportals, it's just not going to be as worth it. Got a bunch of things that affect how much food and water you have. So your hunger rate will be reduced with hunger rate. Food generation, you'll regain your food without having to eat. And likewise, you've got first rate as well, with 2 of them, and then 2 hunger rate boosts too. But let's face it, it's not that great. Major threat, 5 of these had this on. I just can't see the benefit of it. In fact, I hate this perk. It's one of my worst, or one of the ones I hate the most. Making you more of a threat or more creatures aggro to you is only good if you play multiplayer, which I rarely do. We got Gas Guard, Poison Resist, and Sizzle Immunity. Only one of these dropped. Gas Guard, yeah, sure, why not? Meaning you don't have to mess around with your armor set and you've got a powerful full set of armor. And Sizzle Immunity though, that's a bad boy one. It's still hard, so it might be tough to get this on certain trinkets. So if you haven't got it yet, but you managed to get this, then that's going to be really good for obviously taking on the sandbox. And Poison Resist is just going to reduce the damage. I guess if you are taking on lots of wolf spiders and you don't want to run that risk, then it could be good. But with the Broodmother also having now Venom, let alone the infected Broodmother, normally your mutation will do good enough. I just don't think, even with wasps as well, I just don't think it's worth necessarily having that on your weapon. It'd be better if it was something that gave more poison attack. Then we've got stuff that helps with stamina. Hyper stamina, making it regen quicker. Exhaustion recovery, which always sounds a bit similar. Hyper stamina makes your bar move quicker as you regain your stamina. Exhaustion recovery reduces the time it takes for that bar to go ahead and replen. They do very similar things. Either way, are they amazing for this? Probably not. You can get a lot of these benefits via smoothies. Likewise, max stamina, I just don't think it's going to be like amazing. And then finally, we've got the healing. Trickle regen will replenish your health over time. Max health increases that max health. Increased healing could be good. Likewise, damage resist. Now I've paired that with the healing because obviously it's just going to make you more tankier. I would say increased healing though is a pretty good one, since the ladybug armor doesn't really do the same job as it used to. So I've got to presume that when you take a smoothie or a bandage, it is going to give you more healing, even though it's only meant to take part when you're holding the weapon. So obviously that is all about random chance. What you'll get is going to be very different, and good luck doing this 100 times just to see. I did go and spawn in another 100 daggers, and here's what I got. Dust Guard, keeping you protected against dust. I think we can safely say that's a weak sauce one. As I mentioned earlier, Sour Up Best, that was something pretty rare, only got 1 more of them. Likewise the same for Fresh. Salty Attack, there isn't that much with the salt stuff. A lot of people were unhappy there weren't enough salt weapons added. Combining that with a salt chunk, or if you've never got the salt chunk, then maybe that can be a good one. Sprint distance, you'll be able to sprint for a little bit longer before it runs out. Poison resist, we've already seen and spoke about. Full defense, yeah, kind of useless. Quick charge, charge attacks, charge faster. If you're using this like this, then you're probably using it in the wrong way. Obviously only really good if you've got a big two-handed heavy weapon. Or staves. Now here's a good one for summons. Creatures you summon have a chance to cause mini explosions with all of their attacks. Block strength, nah. Invincible attack, chance to automatically repair weapons on attack, especially with daggers. I could see that being a bit more beneficial, but it's still probably not worth having over something else. It should be easy enough to get a ton of glue now to repair your stuff. More stun damage to target could be pretty good for taking on tankier creatures that are hard to stun. And then we've got final crit boost and final stamina surge. Crit boost can be really powerful, obviously only really good for fast moving weapons like daggers and maybe certain axes like the Mantis Scythe, and the fact that it crits until you hit, that makes it a winner. But the stamina surge, no, covered that already. And then we had reflect damage best, critical damage up best. Yeah, both pretty good. Did get a couple more sour damage up majors as well, but obviously since I got the best you won't need that. And then when I spawned in the last 50 to make it 200 total, I got a couple more explosive resists, lots more spicy stuff, more of the boss ones like broodmother damage. Did start to see some more salt damage up, with damage up best and damage up major. But out of that next lot that I spawned in, these were the best ones. Wolf spider damage, salt damage up best as I mentioned, explosive resist, mantis damage again and boss one, but this is probably the best one going, boss damage increase. I will take a look and see how much good this is going to be in a separate live stream or video. Now that I've got some of these I can go and test them out. But bearing in mind, this is the only one that dropped out of 200 attempts at spawning these daggers in. You got to presume it's going to do more damage than just the individual ones. So with all that said, let's revise what are the top 20 effects that you can get on some of these weapons. I think it's time to say goodbye to Final Goo, as good as it can be compared to some of these other abilities. Nope. Things like Final Stamina Surge as well are still probably just a little bit too weak. Blast Wave sounds good, but you do have to have a very specific summons build for it. Damage Resist, it's always been a little bit low when you've seen it on other stuff, so I'm going to presume it's not that big. Getting a combo hit in and then getting a bonus from it, I still think is a bit weak compared to some of these other ones. Likewise with Final Fury, and yeah, I'm just not feeling a lot of the summon ones after all. And yeah, any elemental damage that you get an extra damage from, whether it's salty, sour, fresh, spicy, is always going to be good, especially when it's the best kind. But the implant weakness I think is definitely much better. Being able to apply that damage type, making sure you upgrade it with that weapon, seriously makes these OP. Critical damage up best is great for your crit builds obviously. I prefer that to some of the combo stuff, because at least you know that whenever you proc your crit chance, you're going to be doing more damage, rather than relying on always having to get that third hit in. Reflect damage best as well, again taking on some of the infused. We've all seen how powerful Thorns have been. Other YouTubers have been showing off their Thorns builds, which seem pretty busted. I'm sure they'll end up getting nerfed, but by taking damage you can pretty much kill a whole ton of the infused creatures. Critical days, I like it like I said, slowing down creatures when you do get that critical hit in. But again, it all depends on your build and making sure you're giving it the best chance. Lifesteal and increased healing, I think they've got their uses, especially on a weapon. Lifesteal particularly, but just not on obviously slow moving weapons, only stuff like daggers. Broodmother's good. The wolf spider I nearly got rid of, but taking into account into the infected wolf spiders and infused ones, they're going to be just like mini bosses, it'd be handy. Likewise the Black Widow, only 1 out of 200. And the bosses, I did get a couple of broodmothers, 2 wasps, 2 mantis, but only 1 boss damage. Scissor immunity I do think is really good. Not having to maybe wear all of your regular gear, using your most powerful armour to go and take on maybe antlions, or if you're fighting a bunch of ladybird larvae infused versions, it's really good. No more sizzle baby. Explosive resist as well, anything that's going to give me extra protection against so many of the infused creatures. And Final Fury seems kind of weak sauce out of a lot of the kind of final combo hit ones, but particularly with daggers I think it's a really good one to keep increasing your attack speed. And then Perfect Block and Parry Heal. Chances are you're going to be pretty good if you're using this particular build and a dagger. Perfect Block, I'm sure not a lot of people are going to agree with me, but that's a personal favourite of mine. And Parry Heal, well yeah, that is really good, especially when you compare it with the mutation that gives you healing. For bosses that is going to be good. So there we go, that's my top 20 dagger ones at least anyway. I'm going to do a bit more science. I am going to spawn in 200 axes, 200 hammers, and show you guys which ones are definitely the best. I have got a feeling though that these effects are going to be pretty generic across all of the weapons. hence why we've got stuff that only works on bows. But I do want to test this out, so I will absolutely do that and come up with another video. Hopefully it's been good just explaining what some of these attributes do and what you could maybe potentially keep going for. And until next time, ratbags, I'll see you later.